Hi everyone. Today I'm sharing the second spread that I made for my myself and I hashtag self-love 2021 traveler's notebook, and this one was specifically for Kelly Winnell's self-love prompts, and I'm doing the one that says style. So I decided to interpret this as my scrapbooking style. So I made this spread kind of outlining some of the elements that I like to include in my scrapbooking. And this spread was inspired by this package of goodies that we got in our Treasured Memories virtual crop last month. And this kit was put together by Doreen. I don't know her last name, but I will link her Instagram down below if you're interested in her work. And she likes to do kind of like mixed media things. And so she was kind enough to include some of these elements and vintage type things that were just in her stash for all of us who participated in her crop. So that was really cool for her to do that. And so I created this interactive spread here that folds out, and there's a little tag here. So if you'd like to see how I created this spread, then just keep watching. So I started out by going through all of the pieces that came in the kit that Doreen so graciously provided us. And because of the contents of the kit, my spread ended up being like slightly more vintage than I usually have my spreads, but I really like the way that it turned out, so I'm just going to go with this. So I'm starting off with this paper bag that the kit contents came in. The bird was already stamped on the front of that paper bag. And I'm creating an interactive element. So if you've watched any of my other process videos or any of my flip throughs, you'll know that I love creating interactive bits and pieces in my albums. So that's definitely something that I wanted to include. And next I'm just going to create some layers with this vintage paper as well as the rose napkin that was included, and I'm just creating some texture by tearing some of these pieces here. The thing with these vintage papers and the napkin are that they're quite delicate, so I had to be really careful when I was cutting them with my paper trimmer and also with the tearing as well. So ultimately what I'm hoping to do is include a lot of the elements that I usually like to use in my memory keeping pages. So these elements wouldn't necessarily all go in one page usually, but I am bringing them all together on this one spread just to reflect kind of different elements of my style that I like to incorporate in my memory keeping. Here you'll notice that I scored my paper bag to create a flap with which I will attach to my traveler's notebook page. And I am going to debate about adding this vellum piece to the back of that paper bag. But before I add it on, I'm just going to glue these pieces of the vintage paper as well as the floral napkin onto my page first. So I knew that if I had used my usual tape runner to try to adhere these pages down, it would likely rip the paper as my tape runner is running across the page. So I decided to use my score tape to help with this application, and that worked out pretty well. The backing was a bit harder to peel off, but just have to be a bit patient, and it worked out okay in the end. So one tip that I found really helped was taping down one side of the napkin before peeling off the tape backing on the other sides, just so that it doesn't flip over on itself accidentally and adhere to itself. And here I'm kind of working off the camera screen, but I'm just adhering the leftover bit of vintage paper onto the bottom of my spread there. And then just adding some pieces of music note washi tape that I had in my stash as well. And the kit that Doreen gave us came with this mesh piece. She explained what it's usually used for. It's not like a paper crafting item, but I can't remember what she said it was supposed to be for. But I decided to layer a bit of washi tape from my stash over that, as well as this Tim Holtz word band that's also from my stash. And in the center, I just put a bit of that thread that came in our kit from Doreen, as well as some brads from my stash just to attach that word band onto the mesh piece that we have there. And I'm going to use a bit of score tape just behind the word band to adhere it down to my paper bag here. Moving on to the back of this paper bag, I have here a piece of vellum that came in the kit, and I'm going to debate about putting that playing card with the king on it, just to give it a layered effect. But first I had to figure out how to seal the paper bag about halfway down so that the tag doesn't fall all the way to the bottom, because since the tag is shorter than the paper bag, if it falls to the bottom, then it's hard to pull out. And so I tried to staple it maybe in the middle with the tiny attacher, but realized that that wouldn't work. So then I had to take a piece of score tape, carefully slip it in just below where the tag would end, and then carefully peel off the lining so that the paper bag stuck to itself to create kind of a smaller pocket that the tag could go into. So next I'm trying to figure out what to do with this tag that came in the kit. I tried really hard to make this tag work with the page. I eventually ended up ditching this whole idea and going with a plain white tag with like a craft colored circle reinforcer on the top, just because this purple tag really didn't go with the whole vintage vibe that I was getting from the spread. But I thought I'd just include this in just in case you wanted some more ideas on what to do with tags. So I did keep this photo of my Citrus Twist Life Crafted albums. I love working in the Life Crafted albums, so I thought they're definitely part of my style, and so I just wanted to include a picture to show that. And thankfully, I was able to peel off this Instax photo from the tag once I decided that the purple tag was a no-go for me. Here I realized that once I put the tag in the pocket, it was kind of wiggling around because the tag wasn't wide enough for that pocket. So I'm just sealing up the left side of this pocket with some more score tape inside the pocket so that the tag doesn't wiggle around as much. And next I'm going to add another one of my favorite elements to add on my projects, and that's stamping. So here I'm using the Ellie's Studio Collected stamp set, and I'm stamping a saying that says keepsake, saving this forever, and then it says from, and instead of putting like a person that it's from, I'm just putting the date that it's from. So February 11th was when I filmed this video. And because I was stamping it on top of all the layers of paper underneath, it didn't really stamp very cleanly, so I just used a Sharpie pen here to fill out the spots that were missing from my stamping. And then just finishing up this paper bag with another stamp that says photos enclosed, just by the bird there. Moving on to the back of this paper bag, I'm just adding that piece of vellum that I had cut down previously. Then just adding a piece of washi tape just to make that piece a bit more cohesive with the rest of the layering that I have going on there. I had debated about adding this playing card to the back of the paper bag just because it's got a bit of a glossy sheen, which I thought might detract from the rest of the spread. But then I realized that one of the ways I can kind of bring it into the spread was to bring in these elements from Citrus Twist kits. So these are part of their September 2020 digital kit called The Best Parts. And I had printed some of the elements on vellum paper and some of the elements on just plain white cardstock. And I love the fact that this brings some of the pinks and greens from the floral napkin onto this spread just to kind of tie the two pages together. In hindsight, I would have preferred if the playing card and the ephemera pieces were a bit lower on the page, just to fill in the left-hand corner of that paper bag a bit better. But I did end up filling it in a different way later on. Here I'm just doing a bit more stamping. This is using the stamp set from Hero Arts called Typewriter Letters, and I just like the way that these letters went with the vintage style papers that I had. And I'm just spelling out my style to indicate that this spread is about my crafting style. So here's the fun part of the spread. So I decided to type out all of the different elements that I decided to use in the spread, and then cut them into strips so that I can label each element on my spread. So in the front, I labeled my stamping. Here I'm labeling my washi tape that I like to use. And on the purple tag, I was originally going to label the gold accent foiling, as well as the glitter enamel dots that I put on this tag with sparkle and shine, because I like to use sparkle and shine on some of my projects. But of course, later on, I decided to ditch the purple tag, so I had to move the enamel dots to the inside of the paper bag, as well as the label that says sparkle and shine. Here I'm adding a label for typed journaling, because of course I love to type all of my journaling. Then a label pointing to the florals that I like to use. And then of course a label that says interactive elements, and then I just drew an arrow pointing to the tag that comes out of that pocket. And then another label that says a touch of vintage, because I do like to add touches of vintage here and there in my spreads. And then I added the label that says hint of whimsy to the front of my pocket there. So unfortunately, my camera ran out of memory space while I was filming, but basically I replaced the purple tag with a plain white tag and put my picture of the Life Crafted albums on that tag. And on the back of this paper bag, you'll see where I put the glitter enamel dots, as well as the pink rickrack that was from our kit. And that pretty much finishes up my spread. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe for more process videos. Thanks for watching!